guys, today I'm going to be doing a movie review of the movie called Chiraq, which is a Spike Lee directed film and is currently available on Amazon Video. And if you are an Amazon Prime member, you can watch it for free. Now, Chiraq is basically a movie that discusses the violence that plagues the city of Chicago. And to sort of get you guys to understand how violent Chicago is, in Afghanistan from 2001 to present, there were over 2,300 American soldiers killed. And in Iraq from 2003 to 2011, there were over 4,400 American soldiers killed. And then from 2001 to 2015 in Chicago, there were over 7,300 people murdered within the city of Chicago. And this is not a foreign city somewhere that is currently in a state of war. And we're actually, it sort of seems like that from what we are currently seeing. But this is a city within the United States of America, but why does it have a murder rate that is higher than, within a war zone? And this movie touches on a lot of the issues that people in Chicago have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Now, the movie is based on a Greek comedy where the women in a city basically go on a sex strike where they say, hey, we're not giving up pussy no more, or until their husbands pursue peace. And this is sort of what this movie plays on or whatever. And there's two gangs in the movie, and they're both fictional, called the Spartans and the Trojans. The Spartans are basically led by Nick Cannon, and they wear purple, and then Wesley Snipes is part of the Trojans, which wear orange. And, the women in both these gangs are a little upset that people keep dying for next to nothing over colors, which, to be quite honest with you guys, colors are not really that big of a thing within the Chicago gangs, and then also within the Midwest, because Chicago's gangs basically are the gangs of the Midwest. I live in Akron, Ohio, and I can tell you that there are gangs from Chicago that pretty much influence the gangs in Akron, Cleveland, Milwaukee. Pretty much most of the Midwestern Rust Belt cities have Gangster Disciples, Vice Lords, Black Peace Stones, Traveling Vice Lords, Black Disciples. I mean, I think it was like last year or so, there was a Black Disciples gang that or a group of them got busted from basically transporting large shipments of cocaine and heroin from Chicago to Cleveland, and then they would distribute that throughout the northeastern part of Ohio, but the police busted the dope ring. Now, some of the things that this movie gets right and it gets wrong, and I'm actually going to start off with the bad and then do the good. So some of the things I didn't like about this movie is how they sort of downplayed the issues that sort of affect Chicago. I mean, yes, it is sort of a comedy movie or whatever, but a lot of people within the city of Chicago actually have to deal with things that, are serious. And this movie, even though it's not meant to be a serious, nitty-gritty gangster film, but, the people in Chicago, they have to deal with the reality that I feel like this movie isn't really portraying. You have Wesley Snipes basically looking like Simon Phoenix from The Demolition Man. You have John Cusack, who plays a reverend, and he's some hippie pastor with this huge peace medallion on him. And then like the gangs are wearing purple and orange, and colors just aren't even that big of an issue in the city of Chicago. And then another thing that this movie sort of, or I don't really like about this movie, is that it doesn't really talk about why the people gangbang. A lot of the reasons people gangbang has to do with the fact that there's no economic opportunity. There's no opportunity whatsoever. So people turn to drug dealing. I mean, they don't mention the disputes over drug territory. They're making it seem as if the gang members just like to shoot each other because they like just shooting other people. No, they do it because one of their friends died, so they want to avenge their friend's death. They kill one of the people who killed their friends, and then the people retaliate, and it's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That's pretty much the situation how it is now. And then, you add drugs into the mix and limited amounts of drug territory, then it turns into a war zone. But this movie doesn't really, go into that. And I know that, it's not a nitty gritty movie, but I think that if this movie wants to be called Chiraq, then that's something they should have been talking about. But the good things that this movie, or the good points that this movie mentions, is how there's no trauma center on the South Side. A lot of people don't know that Chicago, which has 3 million people, does not have a trauma center on its South Side, where a lot of the homicides take place. So they have to actually transport people from the far South Side to the North Side, which could take over an hour. People die in transit going to the hospital. And I'd like that they touched on that. Also, they talked about the predatory health insurance companies or life insurance companies going in inner city neighborhoods, telling parents to say, hey, look, your 10-year-old son, his life expectancy is probably, when he turns 14, he's probably going to get shot to death. So here, take a life insurance policy out on him. That's crazy. But that happens within the hood. People have to, or a lot of people, they take out life insurance policies on their children. And they talked about that. Also, they talked about how there's no economic development within a lot of these neighborhoods, but we spend billions of dollars rebuilding Iraq and Afghanistan after we blew them to kingdom come. That's another good point they made. Also, the way the media views shootings within suburban areas versus inner city areas. I mean, Sandy Hook was a tragedy, and my heart goes out to those parents who lost their children like that. But Sandy Hook's coverage lasted for months, nonstop. But then in the city of Chicago, every single year, there's over 100 kids who are killed due to gun violence, and it doesn't even get even 1% of the same amount of coverage that Sandy Hook gets. And then also they talked about how, there's the gun show loophole where people will go to other states, buy, 10, 20, 30, 40 guns, and then go to Chicago and pretty much double their money. And then they also talked about mass incarceration, how a lot of these private prisons will basically not only do these people not, they're the people that have the power that be don't care about you, but they're also making money off of you, basically living in this kind of lifestyle. And I like that they touched on that. Now, in closing, overall, Chiraq, from a movie perspective and not looking at the current real life issues that affect the city of Chicago, I think it was a very good movie. I mean, the spoken word, even though I said that was sort of a negative aspect in the movie, it seems like they're not taking the real issue seriously. It was actually a lot of good wordplay. But then again, we do have to acknowledge acknowledge the reality that exists. And people in Chicago have to worry about bullets coming into their windows. I mean, some people have to even sleep in their tubs to avoid stray bullets, and that's sad, and that's unacceptable. So there's a lot of issues that are affecting Chicago, and women going on pussy strike is not going to do anything. I mean, maybe it might dissuade a couple guys, but a lot of it has to do with long-standing conflicts with various groups of people and no economic opportunity. I mean, the drugs are basically a way that a lot of people can make income. A lot of people don't like doing it, but it's just the pragmatic reality that they live in. So if I had to give Chiraq a rating, I would probably give it a 6.5 or a 7 out of 10. Because yes, it was a decent movie, but for it to be named Chiraq, I think they need to touch more on the issues that actually affect people within the city of Chicago. That's all I have to say. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, comment, and have a nice day.